Hello and welcome to our podcast, Pipeline to Profitability. Today, I have a very special guest, being Lee Milteer. And Lee is an international known and celebrated entrepreneur, visionary, best-selling author, and award-winning professional speaker. TV personality, intuitive business mentor. Lee provides businesses and success advice and resources to 250,000 people around the world. She is the founder of Millionaire Smarts program, which supplies coaching and other coaches and businesses. Lee speaks all over North America and Europe in conventions, private companies, and entrepreneurial and niche market events. Her presentations are so effective that organizations such as Walt Disney, AT&T, XEROX, IBM, Ford Motor Company, NASA, Federal Express, plus hundreds of government agencies and scores of conventions repeatedly retain her to inspire and motivate their audiences. Lee is recognized award-winning, best-selling audio and video author. Lee has written 16 books, which 5 are Amazon bestsellers. Her latest book, Activate Your Inner Power, hit the bestseller status in 4 categories. Lee has been an expert guest on more than 1,200 TV and radio shows on national and international TV and radio around the world. Lee is interviewed in newspapers, magazines, trade journals all over the world, including USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and Inc. magazine. So today, I want to introduce you to the amazing Lee Milteer, and today we're going to discuss, is success an inside job? Welcome, Lee.
Thank you so much, Alan. That was a great introduction. I appreciate that. My mother would have been very proud.
Yeah. So, is success an inside job?
Well, Alan, I'm so happy you asked that particular question, because I think that is the burning question that a lot of us have to ask right now. The last few years have been just pure crazy town, and we are being told things that are not true. And yet, for people who are aware of their instincts and their intuition, they can feel that something is not right. They might not be able to put their fingers exactly on what it is, but success is an inside job, because here's the truth. Success is not like reading a book. Example, when you read a book, you start at the beginning, you go to the middle, and you go to the end. Success is opposite. Success is you mentally, inside of yourself, go to the exact outward vision that you wish to create for yourself. Then you go a little bit further back and you figure out what is the plans, the strategy, the technique, the skills that I need to do to get there. So you're visualizing that. And then it's sort of at the beginning of the book, you have to decide on the plan. We are self-fulfilling prophecies. No one in our educational system, and I live in the United States, has ever taught anybody that success is an inside job. What they've taught them is to literally memorize information just long enough to pass the damn test. Okay? And then they're like little robots giving back information that was fed to them. Well, that's all great unless the educational system is corrupt, which it is, or the people giving you information is corrupt, which a lot of it is. So as business owners, one of the things that I've done, Alan, and I've been around a long time, is I've been teaching people that you have an inner guidance within yourself. It is, I like to call it instincts. And the truth is we have these instincts, and for up until the last, like, say, 100 years, everybody lived by their instincts, Alan. That, you know, you met someone, you could tell sort of inside of yourself, this is a good person, I can trust them. This is not a good person, I can't trust them. This is a good thing for me, this is a bad thing for me. Today, people aren't living by their instincts anymore. They're actually living with external information that's being programmed in them, and then they pair it that information out and they believe it's true. So when I was growing up, I was complicated life, grew up on a ranch. My father wanted a boy. He raised me as a boy so I could shoot, drive tractors, kick ass, take no crap from anyone, tell it like it is. Growing up with a rancher father was actually fantastic because I'm afraid of no one because he was worthy of being afraid of. And so I followed his lead. And he would always say to me, whether you're doing business or you're riding your horse, you have got to listen to the instincts inside of you of, is it safe to go down this path? Is it not safe to go down this path? When I was growing up, if we went into a building, the first thing he would say to me is, where's the exit? You got to know where the exit is when you walk in the door. Wow. If I took a ride through the woods, he would always say to me, it's great riding through the woods on that path, but don't you dare ever come back on that same path because you're a little, little thing on that big horse and somebody might grab you. And so I grew up with this knowledge that, one, I was 100% responsible for myself, all my decisions, that I had to take responsibility. I had to be incredibly careful of who I allowed in my influence because people have agendas. And often the most dark people have very sweet agendas to lure you in. And so basically success is an inside job in the sense of I have to make my own path like you and all the people that you work with. And this has been my life, is working with entrepreneurs and business owners and trying to convince them that the caliber of information that they put in their brain every single day will determine what their bank account looks like. It will determine what their home relationship looks like, their relationships with their staff, their team, their clients, their customers. That here we are our own worst enemies. It is when we get depressed and down and we're thinking negative thoughts and victim thoughts, and we're not really taking our power, because I loop back to how I started. No one ever told us we were powerful beings. No one ever told us this. So we always think there's somebody else smarter than us. And I'm not saying there aren't smarter people, but they're not smarter for us in the sense of we have this gut energy that you have to follow. And you know me, I'm a warrior. I believe in what I believe in, and don't get between me and what I want, because I am going to get what I want in life. And
I love it, Lee. I love it. I love every bit of that passion of yours. And yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a little while now. It hasn't been that long, but I just wanted to, most of my listeners for this podcast are tradespeople, and I'd like to, and I know you would deal with some tradespeople in your coaching group, but we both have a common mentor, being Dan Kennedy. And I know you're very good friends with Dan. I've never met Dan before, but I've been one of his students now for about 20 years. And when I learned, and originally when I asked you to be on this podcast, I said, let's do a marketing podcast. And then you said to me, Alan, I've got some better stuff to share with your listeners, which I think this is fantastic. But just another thing besides our common interest being marketing, Dan Kennedy, I was blown away by an article or a newsletter you shared a couple of days about the empath personality. And I know you're probably going to touch on that, and I hope you do, because that personality fits me. And it was quite scary when I thought, oh my God, I get, when I'm in crowds with people, I can feel the negative energy and it makes me nervous. And, but so this podcast is for tradies. So what advice would you have? Because we're heading into some difficult times, I believe. I don't think we can both agree the media is not telling us the truth, and I've had my own experience with the lies that media tell. But for your average plumber, electrician, air conditioning business, how does what you're about affect them moving forward?
It affects them. The world affects everyone, and we're all empaths to a degree. Some people are more advanced than others, but negative energy of, say, the news scaring you about the upcoming Third World War, and all of that kind of stuff. It affects all kind of tradespeople, because the first thing that happens when you get this kind of information is sort of this clutching of how is my business going to keep going? How can I protect my family? How can I make sure my children are going to be okay? What's going to happen? And there's so much fear in the world right now, Alan, that it's overriding a lot of people's creative abilities. And here's the real important part: creative abilities to scan the landscape of your particular profession. So let's take plumbers, because I've dealt with a lot of plumbers. And
me too.
And I love tradespeople because I grew up in a blue collar world. I mean, my dad's a rancher. I mean, it's blue collar as you can get. And so I have great respect for all of these people. In fact, I have more respect for them than most corporate people by far. I mean, these people know how to work, and I'm a worker. And I have a work ethic. And so if we allow the chaos of our world to start affecting us, our brain sort of shuts down into this fear mode, and fear is fantasized experiences appearing real. Now, and your imagination starts to get away with you of, there won't be any work. How will I pay my bills? It just cascades down. So what we have to do is we really have to become brave and get brutal about who and what we listen to and allow into our subconscious mind. Because if we watch the news and get scared, maybe we don't pull that trigger on writing that sales letter that we really need to write to that neighborhood that we're trying to canvass and get more information in. Maybe we get a really good testimonial from a client that we just, saved their life, and we're so freaked out we forget to put it up on our website or use the testimonial. Or maybe we become unconscious and we're so freaked out about what's happening, we hire bad people and then are so sort of befuddled and disoriented that we let them stay. And we don't notice the red flags, or we don't fight for ourselves the way that we normally would fight for ourselves. I've been wounded in life in the sense of having really bad things happen to me, and I know that feeling of being stunned and overwhelmed and disoriented and not sure what to do, and sometimes listening to the wrong people and then just get deeper in the hole, so to speak. But why tradespeople should pay attention to the caliber of information they put in the brain, their own self-talk. You see, if we can't be for ourselves and daily tell ourselves, no matter what, I will win, no matter what, I will win, that kind of mindset, then you're beat. And once you're beat, I mean, the vultures will come and feast on you. And so it's imperative that no matter what you do in life, that you are your own champion, that you bring out your warrior, that you, when you recognize red flags of people and things against you, you immediately cut the poison out as soon as possible. And that means that you have to be in a positive state of mind that no matter what happens, you will land on your feet. And that you're creative enough that you're scanning the landscape and you're telling your brain, because your brain is very creative, looking for the money, looking for the money, looking for the money. Where is their money? I jokingly, in the Smarts Club that I'm in and that you're in, I jokingly say, I smell money. And it really is, I don't literally smell it, but I feel it. I get a charge when there's an opening that I see that I could capitalize on and leverage and monetize. And I have to do that. I am the train. I am pushing the own train. I have no one else who's taking care of me. It is me. And I got the train behind me I'm pulling, like you and all the other tradespeople. And so if I don't put into myself every day information from people who inspire me, books that I read or courses that I take, and my own self-talk, and literally visualize myself every morning that I get up and every night before I go to sleep, the future that I wish to create for myself, I'm screwed, just like everybody else. Now, I love talking like this because I love telling it like it really is.
You do.
And this is not something I can talk like on the corporate, BS, but I'm just telling everybody, you got to just step up to the plate here and take your power back and just say, I'm in charge of my future. I have the brains and the ability to deal with whatever happens. And they're just tools that we were given, such as I've just mentioned. Control your self-talk. When you catch yourself saying, everything is going wrong and I don't know what to do, you got to have a pattern interrupt. And you've got to literally convince your brain more than anybody else that you have the ability to face whatever circumstances you're dealt with. And most important, you will win. You're not going to fail. You're going to win. We may fall down, but we're going to get our butt back up as soon as possible.
That's great advice. And at the end of the day, our brain is it's a primal brain that's basically programmed to protect us, right? So something that one of my mentors or someone that I followed many years ago, going back in my I don't know if I told you I was heavily into powerboat racing, and my mentor growing up was this funny talking Austrian guy called Arnold Schwarzenegger. And after watching some of his, I think it was a documentary called Pumping Iron, where Arnold talked about visualizing the fact that he would win his next Mr. Olympia. And back then, I thought this funny talking Austrian guy, and don't worry, I get the funny talking Australian guy, but we'll move on. He's onto something. So I actually applied his visualization technique into my powerboat racing, where I would actually, our races were, let's say, 45 minutes. I would spend 45 minutes prior to the race visualizing me winning the race. And guess what? I won more races. I won pretty much everything. So the whole visualization, I think one of the hardest things for us to do, and I've the last few years I've copped a pretty rough time with media and marriage, and it's been pretty nasty. But sometimes it's really hard when you're in the hurricane to actually get out, or when you've got all this negative energy around you to actually get out. But I look to get out of that and reprogram your mind, because we control our mind, right? Or so they tell me. And so maybe you might like to share some of the techniques. So if someone's in a really tough place at the moment and things just are not going well for them, and there's another fella that I've been following for a while. I can't even remember his name now, Jocko Willink. And whenever shit is going on in his life, he just says, good. That's a lesson. So in everything the bad that happens to us, there has to be a lesson from that. But so what are some of the techniques that you would recommend to our fellow tradespeople, or anyone and it's not just tradespeople that listen to this great podcast? What are some of the techniques that you use to actually to get yourself out of that negative stinking thinking that I think Zig Ziglar used
to say? Yeah. Okay, well, first, I'm a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger for many reasons, but I actually quoted him, and one of my favorite quotes is, I used weights to tone my body, but I used my mind to shape it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he did a daggone good job of that. Okay, so some of the things that I do, like if I'm in an unresourceful state of mind, let's say bad news, bad news, bad news, you just feel completely overwhelmed. One of the first things that I do is a pattern interrupt, which means you can only think of one thing at a time, Alan. And that means that you get to also, you have the power of choice. And it's very easy to fall into victim modality. So instead of falling into victim modality of, everything's too hard, it's against you, blah, blah, blah. And that may be true. However, you get to choose what you think about. What I recommend to people is if you can just break at that moment, if you can, take a 15-minute break. If you've got like, my dogs are here, I have, animals everywhere. And, I go play with the animals because it's a pattern interrupt. And guess what? Nobody is ever in a bad mood when they're playing with their four-legged fur buddies, ever. And so the other thing is walk outside into nature, and start asking yourself, okay, I know things are, shit up the creek here. However, what's good? Just ask yourself, what is good in your life? I got my family, I got my home, I'm self-employed. Just so everybody knows, I'm unemployable. I have to be self-employed.
I know that feeling.
and most of us are like that. I mean, we don't want to, we deal with a lot of stuff, but we don't want to work for somebody else because we're still working for other people, hundreds of people a year.
That's it.
But, not that one person every day. And the other thing is start focusing on, if you just, let me think of 10 things that I'm really grateful for. And you just start thinking about those. Notice it doesn't even take 2 or 3 minutes. In 2 or 3 minutes, when you shift from what's wrong to what you're blessed with, like you have gorgeous daughters, you have gorgeous daughters. And don't focus on all the people who raped and plundered you, because we all have that list. And they can only stay alive if we think about them. So one of the secrets I have is, it's called, and write it down, pay it no mind. In other words, stop thinking about the problem. And if there's something that needs a solution, simply say to yourself, I haven't thought of a solution yet, but I will think of the solution. And then ask your subconscious mind, what are some possible usable solutions that you could focus in on, and then let it go. And if you're walking outside or you're doing something else, and all of a sudden this intuition, because here's how intuition works. Intuition matches dots. And when you ask deliberately, give me a solution for this situation, it will go up into your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, and it will search all the data banks since the moment of your birth for solutions that you have read about, seen in class, gotten from mentors, however you got those, they're stored. And all you have to do is unlock that by asking, what is the solution to this problem, versus reinforcing that, this is bad, I don't know what to do. See, when we're self-fulfilling prophecies, the more we reinforce what's bad, the more we focus in on it, then we have tunnel vision. We cannot see solutions because we're so focused on what's bad. And I'm a one-on-one coach to business owners, and I actually have people come spend sometimes a day with me. And what I do is I point out all their blind spots. In other words, this is a problem you have, but you're so stuck on the problem, you're refusing to see there's another option if you just let the problem go. And we start just focusing on solutions. And then what we might come up with might not be the exact recipe you need, but it's the beginning of the recipe. Because if you don't convince your mind that there is a new solution, you're stuck. And then you'll repeat the behaviors, you'll suffer. And I really do believe entrepreneurs suffer a lot. I mean, they worry about so much stuff. When I catch myself worrying, I say, whoops, Yeah, very unresourceful state of mind, me worrying. Because if I'm a self-fulfilling prophecy, I'm now attracting this bad stuff to me. How about if I tear the problem apart and figure out one little thing that I could take action on that would start to shift the momentum of that problem? And it's like a miracle, Alan. Me simply finding one thing that I can start to shift and take action on and do shifts my mood, puts me in a resourceful state of mind. The warrior comes out. I start having a good time because I'm going to win. And, we figure it out. Now, it's not always overnight, but these are our choices. We have a choice every day. We're going to be a victim or we're going to be a warrior. And all of us are going to choose to be a warrior.
We both know Mike Aguilera, and we know he's big on the warrior mindset. So, Lee, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I want to take this opportunity, and I do thank you for your wisdom. I love your daily emails, Coffee with Lee, fantastic. I want to get as many people that I can reach, that I know, to be on your Millionaire Smarts Club. And maybe give us a couple of minutes. You've got a nice little gift to give away to all of our listeners and viewers as well. Maybe you'd like to talk about a little bit of some of the stuff that you're doing at the moment. And just one more thing. I know you've got lots of your own books to recommend, but I always ask my podcast guests, what's a really powerful book that you would recommend to the listeners? And then we'll conclude, Lee, with a little bit about what you got going on.
Okay. Let me get the book first.
Sure. This will be good.
You can tell it wasn't a green screen. Okay, so this is one of our coaches in the Success Smarts Club. His name is James Carl Butler, and the book is called Clear and Present Game Changers, Strategies to Turn Around and Transform Your Business.
Fantastic.
And I love James. In fact, he must love me too, because the three mentors who have helped him become a better entrepreneur are Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, and Lee Milteer.
There you go.
And I'm not recommending it because of that, but I'm recommending it because James is part of the Smarts, the Success Smarts Club that you're in with me. Yep. And each month he takes part of this book and he puts it in a report form. But I'm in love with this book. In fact, I've interviewed James maybe 4 times out of this one book. I mean, he writes such tiny little books. But anyway, this is a book that I highly recommend.
Love it. So a little bit about you, Lee, and we'll finish off with what you got going on and what have you got for our podcast listeners.
Okay, so I have a gift for your folks, and it really is a legitimate gift. It is on my website. It costs $100, but it's free for you. If you go to 5typesofenergy.com, 5, spell it out, F-I-V-E, typesofenergy.com. Right. I have 5 short little videos. They're 5 minutes each, and they're about your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial energy, which is your life currency, and how you use that energy every day to build a more stress-free, prosperous, happy life, or you build a stressed, freaked out, not happy life with the same energy. So they come about every other day. They're 5 minutes. People play them in their businesses. They play them in churches. They're all over the place. And the other thing I'd like to mention is I do have a best-selling book called Activate Your Inner Power, and it just went for sale. It's on the Amazon bestseller list in 4 different categories. And this book is really about how you increase your intuition. So you think of your problem, no matter what it is, you just think about it, and then you just flip. I know this sounds crazy, but it works every single time. You just flip through the book, find a page, open it, and read it. And what we pulled today is beliefs, the future, and how you create your beliefs in your future. So I'd like for people to check out, if they went to Milteer.com, there is up there at the top of the menu. It's called Success Smarts Club, and it's only for entrepreneurs. And we're not interested in corporate people. We're not interested in, administrative people. We're interested in decision makers. And then what we do in the club is support you. We support you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially with the things that you can do that shifts your reality into a much easier space, so that you are a creator and manifester versus, just working hard. You can think yourself into a lot more success.
Thank you, Lee. You've been fantastic. I really appreciate this. And I know that everyone that watches and listens to this podcast is going to get so many gold nuggets and words of wisdom from you. So thank you again. What I was looking for, it was a Dan Kennedy recommendation. It must have been 15, 20 years ago. The Strangest Secret. That was the one I was thinking of. I'm going to put all these. Yep, I'm going to put all these links into the show notes. And thank you, Lee. Really appreciate that. And looking forward to seeing you on your next group coaching call. And you have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Take care, Lee. All the best. See ya.